Well, hey, welcome to the Tell Me More podcast. This is episode 2, and we're so great that you're joining us. Hey, the first week we had a little over 300 people connect with us in the first 24 hours, which was super exciting. So thank y'all for doing that. We do, and Jessica will give a little bit of info about that here in just a second, but we do have the ability to see comments on Facebook and YouTube today. So get in there. If you've got questions from this morning, feel free to share. If you're new to the podcast and you have no idea what we're doing, this is called the Tell Me More podcast because we're taking time to talk a little bit more about what we discussed here at Oasis Church in Southwest Kansas on Sunday morning. Right now as a church, we're going through the book of Romans, specifically chapter 8 through the whole summer. And so we're taking 10 weeks or so to go through this really powerful chapter of scripture. And so we're taking it bit by bit and then coming here every week and talking about it for about 30 minutes. So
yeah, if you are on Facebook, we are live on Facebook. So if you are joining us now, go ahead and comment. And I am monitoring those. So make sure that you comment and we'll try and get to your questions if you have any, as well as YouTube, just like we did last week. So make sure that you do comment, ask any questions, and we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Yeah, the other thing about that is that's important to know for those of you who are joining us. If you don't go to our church and you're just checking this out, you're welcome to go on this YouTube page or on Facebook and check out our service from this morning where you can experience our live worship, but also the preaching that we're going to reference today. Yes. So today we've got 2 guests with us that we're going to introduce. This is the first time we've had guests because it's the only second time we've done this. So today we have Misty Martin that's here with us, and then also Tim Wilson. And we're going to give y'all just a second to introduce yourself. Go right ahead.
Okay,
Tell us a little bit about you.
Misty Martin, and my husband and I and our family been at Oasis since about 2017, and I have been on staff here as the youth director and juggling whatever hats I need to here for about 4 years. Almost.
That sounds
4.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, a little over 4.
Yeah, a little over 4 years, and I'm excited to be here today. So yeah.
How long have you been married, kids?
I've been married almost 32 years.
Come on.
We have 6 children, 2 boys, 4 girls, and we have a new goddaughter in our home. So yeah, we're parentaling a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Tim?
Yeah, Tim Wilson, me and my wife and our family, we've been here for a little over a year.
Cool. Yeah, it is about this time last year that you guys showed up.
Yeah, I think it was Mother's Day last year.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're enjoying it. We found community here, and it's awesome. I work for a gas company in town and on the fire department, and just we stay busy.
Awesome. You've got how many kids?
We got 2 kids.
And how long you been married?
And we've been married. We got 2 kids, boy and a girl, and we've been married. It'll be 3 years next month.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's been really cool. We've gotten to connect a ton over the last year, and Tim's got just a really unique story of jumping into faith and jumping in with both hands full. And so it's been a really cool journey to get to see that. Another thing he won't tell you, but is super cool, is that he read all the way through the Bible in about, 5 months?
128 days.
128 days for the first time, which is a massive feat. Because we have people that sit in churches every Sunday that have been in church for decades, and they've never done that at all. And so that's a really big deal. But it's been really cool to just get to see his journey in faith. So, well, let's jump into the scripture. I'm going to read the passage from this morning, and then we'll start talking about initial thoughts. Romans chapter 8, verse 5 says this: "For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. For to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. For the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God, for it does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot. Those who are in the flesh cannot please God." So either from just the reading of the scripture or for something that popped in your mind this morning, what are your initial thoughts about this text?
Well, I think one of the things that really initially jumps out to me is the life and death moments there. And whenever you think of death, how exhausting, if you've ever been on that journey with someone, how exhausted they are. And then when you think of the finality of it. But then the choosing to navigate your life and your thoughts with God and the life that brings. And I think of, like when we see the kids run around, and when you think of new life, you think of spring, you think of different things happening. And I think there's this very stark difference between death and life.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I think one of the interesting things too about that is the passage. When we think about death, we always think about physical death. We think about perhaps a funeral that we've attended, or just the process of losing someone or something. But I think it's also important to understand he's not just talking about physical death. He's talking about the opposite of what Christ gives us, which is the full embodiment of life that is peace and joy, all wrapped into that. So it's simply the opposite of life. Tim, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the piece that sticks with me is this reads, for the sinful nature is always hostile to God. And being hostile to God, being hostile is to mean it's a threat, it's separation, when I think of, I would never want to be that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
losing fight every time.
Yeah.
You know? It's not pleasing to him. It's not that it's living in the flesh is not a passive thing to God. It's not like you're just like, oh, whatever. It's not a passive. It's hostile to him.
Yeah.
It does not please him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when we talk about like that language of being hostile to God. It's the wording that's in there, if you do kind of a deep dive on it, is this idea of not only am I not able to please him, but I'm actively making excuses or reasons to do the things that don't please him. And I think a lot of times when we talk about death, we talk about the fleshful desires, like the personal passions and desires that do not please God. A lot of what we do is excuse work. I know that it says to do X, but
It's been a hard week.
it's been a hard week. Yes.
Right.
Yes, we've all had the hard week moment where you're just like, you know what? I'm going to lose my mind on my children, because it's been a long week. And like all of that dynamic of understanding when I'm walking in a relationship with God, that I don't make excuses for things that I want to do that I know are not healthy, even though I feel like I have validation for doing those things.
Yeah.
Especially when you come into a relationship with the Lord and you have friends that are not necessarily Christians that feed you a different mentality of how you're supposed to live, that tell you, oh man, I mean, just, it's not that big a deal. Just do X. Just do whatever that thing is. It's okay to talk about somebody that you're mad. It's okay to talk horrible about your boss because they're a terrible boss, and fill in the blank. But the call to living life in the Spirit is choosing to say no to those things because it's an excuse to invite death and chaos in your life.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the hostility part to it, the reason why it's hostile is because we are literally separating ourselves from God. And what God is trying to communicate to us is to choose the path that he's laid out for us in order for us to connect, in order for us to go deeper and to just go further with him and where he's actually pointed us to go, where we actually belong, and it's this separation, this hostility, to him, it's that's the death, it's that separation. And I think that's important for us to keep in mind. That separation from him, that is the death. Like that is the problem that we face when we choose flesh over spirit. So.
That's good. I think that the other thing that's interesting when you talk about the differentiation is that it tells us it brings life, which is something that's full, but it also says that there's peace. And I think peace is such a healthy, it's such a healthy word there because the description is something that on one hand you can you can have a hard time describing whether you have peace in some areas, but it's a feeling that we're all very aware of. And it gives us a litmus for, am I doing something that's fleshly, or am I doing something that's by the Spirit? Because something that is by the Spirit will give me peace. And so knowing that if I feel chaos, or if I feel anxiety, or if I feel worry, I'm choosing to participate in something that does not give me peace. So that means I'm participating in something that is fleshly, that is carnal in and of itself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we all have stuff. Like, we all have things that we deal with. We all have stuff that that are just, because we are human, because we have sinful nature, we all have things that we have to deal with. But, you know, like I said last week on the podcast, God is a gentleman, and he deals with things with us one thing at a time, not to overload us, not to, you know, make us freak out or anything, but because he loves us and he cares for us, and he wants us to be with him. He wants us to connect with him. And I think that's part of his grace too, is that, you know, he cares enough to, okay, let's one step at a time, baby steps, you know, in order for us to walk with him more succinctly, instead of just, I give up, you know, it's too much.
Well,
you know,
that feeling that you're talking about, that like the conviction feeling of, you know, is this the flesh, or is this in the Spirit? You know, that's from the Holy Spirit. Get that conviction pulling you back. That's the pull. That's the sign of like, hey, that's the correction from God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you can take anything too far. There's I don't know what the lady's name is. You might actually know, but there's a lady that has a show where it's all about organizing, and she's like, "Hold this. Does it give you joy?"
Yeah,
You
Marie
know?
Kondo.
Yes.
Full disclosure, I saw a TV show one time that was like a drama talking about this lady. I thought it was made up. Like, I fully thought, this can't be real. This is the most ridiculous comment on the planet. Just hold it and see if it gives you joy. It seems absolutely
Makes sense to me.
ridiculous. I mean,
Exactly.
I mean,
As if not, it feels like chaos.
Right.
I mean, because 50% of the time, you know, I'd be getting rid of my kids. You know, so about half the time. You know,
We're talking about things.
it's probably, that percentage probably drops as they hit puberty. You know what I mean? Like, I would imagine. So,
I don't know.
I mean, no, I'm saying in the other direction. I'm not talking about positively. Okay. No.
Oh, boy.
No. So, I mean, you think about some of the kids we had in youth ministry. Anyway, but I think that there's a beauty to, hey, here's a common measurement. Do I have peace in the conversations that I have with the people that I'm with? Those are good questions to ask. I was reading a book yesterday by a guy. His name's Tom Merton, and he's, for those of y'all who wouldn't know who he is, he's a Catholic monk. I think he passed away in the 1900s. I think that's right. But he's written a ton of books that are considered really strong theologically in prayer and in like personal sacrifice. He's a brilliant author. I've read a bunch of his stuff over the last few years, but he had a quote that I highlighted, or he had a passage that I highlighted in his book that I thought gave a really good picture of differentiating between flesh and spirit. I'd love to know what y'all's thoughts are on it. He says that we should not look for a method or system, talking about his own interpersonal spirituality, but to cultivate an attitude and an outlook, a faith, an openness, attentiveness, a reverence, an expectation, and a supplication that leads to trust and joy. And he's talking about this idea. So this is actually a book on what we would call contemplative prayer. And the idea of the statement is to say, we so often want to just have like a set of rules that say, do this, don't do this, so that we feel better, because it's easier to just see a checklist of things that we aren't supposed to do. And we used to do that a lot. If you grew up in the Pentecostal movement like I did, I mean, there were odd rules, you know, like, you know, you shouldn't. I remember interviewing for a job one time, and a guy said, with a serious face, he said, well, you know, we don't watch garbage around here. You know, we stop at PG. And I remember thinking, we're not going to work together well.
Yes.
Like, it just
Never a
in my mind,
documentary
I just
ever
thought,
will you watch.
So you didn't see like the Passion of the Christ? Like in my head, I'm thinking, how did
Rated
that work?
R.
But for that guy, it was just like a checkbox. And a lot of what we're talking about in this series is going beyond this idea of just look at a list of laws and look at the things that you're supposed to do and begin to understand how to reflect the character and nature of Christ, the one who has saved you, in order to live a full life. And so when Merton says that we shouldn't look to method or system, but cultivate an attitude or an outlook that looks like faith, openness, attentiveness, reverence, expectation, supplication, trust, and joy. What does that make you guys think of when we talk through that? Misty?
Really, the image that I get is, so my grandson, he's 4 now, as he has been navigating these first 4 years, there are times that we have this list of rules, we have everything just, like it should be. And when there's moments of chaos, one of the things that I've noticed is that my son-in-law is really good at the relational part of it. And so we can be giving Lyric, don't do this, Lyric, don't do that, Lyric, give him all these instructions. But when his dad comes in and there's this trust and this connection and there's this comfort, irregardless of all the things going around, you can almost always see him soften and be able to then be teachable and willing to navigate. And I think sometimes if we would just recognize that characteristic of God in all of this, that we have so much going on around us telling us what we should, whether we could watch a PG movie. I mean, I was playing Uno was a thing for some people that I knew. Like you could not play cards, play cards of any kind. Uno, like cards. Period. You couldn't play cards.
Weird.
Yeah, it was
I get poker, but
right. No, it was cards.
Uno?
And I think we make so much of things, and we make up so many rules that sometimes if we would just simplify the relational part of it, that God's just calling us to Him, and He wants us to just rest in Him. And when we do that, there is a freedom because it shifts our mind in the way we think.
Yeah, it's a state of being.
Yes.
And it's not, we think too much about all the things that we have, the have to do part, checklist type stuff. But yeah, no, it's a state of being. This is who I am because of who Christ is inside of me, So it really has less to do with rules and regulations and guidelines and more to do with who am I? Who is Christ inside of me? Who is He guiding me to be? Who is He pushing me to live like, And so, yeah.
that's actually language in my notes from today that but I didn't get to it. Talking about the idea of, we talked about the work that the Scripture calls us to, which is to think differently so that we live differently. He says those who set their minds on the things of the flesh act in the flesh. Like that's what He's telling us. But there is a sense of, for a lot of people when they first begin to follow Jesus, of there are all these things that I'm supposed to do. There are all of these things that I have to make sure that I do and I don't do, and I look a certain way, feel a certain way.
Satan loves that.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
easy
it's
to look at
distracting.
this like a book of rules. Like, some Christians will say, "Oh, this is a book of rules."
Hey, we
No.
actually have a person who left our church like in the first year of me being here because I said from the pulpit that the Bible is not first and foremost a set of rules, And so, so it is. And I don't say that to be negative on a person, but to say it's ingrained into our culture to talk about spirituality in the sense of you do this, you don't do this. And people have that because they've grown up in that mentality so long. A lot of times when you begin to talk about grace and in the context of the book of Romans, it can scare people because it rips away the fabric of the
checklist.
foundation of what they believe.
Yeah, the checklist.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who are we without the checklist?
Yeah.
And that really, because that is the identity. So,
Yeah.
any other thoughts before we go to the next question? All right. The next question is, tell me an area of your life that it is easy for you to slip into like a selfish or fleshly mentality. Like, where is it easy? I'm not asking, but look, this is not confession time. We're not Catholic. I don't have the purple sash that makes me the Lord. So let's not do that right now. But like, what's an area of your life that you think, man, it is easy for me to slip out of the spirit mode and into a fleshly mode? Anybody?
I mean, I struggle with just a ton of anxiety. Anxiety all the time, worries. Worry about, finances, worry about our just general safety in public spaces, things like that. Worry about, how am I screwing my kids up right now? What am I doing that's gonna affect them? And it's a worry that I'm thinking, go back to the do's and the checklists. What do I need to do? What do I need to change? And trying to always take action. And then, something like, if the Lord's calling us to be good stewards with our finances, and then you get on Amazon and do a little shopping, and if you have a space for that, if you have a budget for that, then that's one thing. But when you don't, if the Lord's calling you to do something with your finances, then that's pretty living in the flesh. And that's very simple and might even be nitpicky, but it's real. It's little things like that, and it's big things.
Yeah. For those who don't know Tim spent time in the military, and so like the things that you're describing, like worrying about spaces and stuff like that, that's super common for people who've served in those capacities. And thank you for sharing that. That was a very vulnerable share, because that's not a lot of times when we think of the flesh. The way we talked about it all the time was, at least in youth group when I was a teenager, was you were always talking about sinful desires. You were always, we probably used it to help people navigate like their sexuality and stuff more than we did in anything else when I was a teenager. But the picture is much bigger than just like sinful acts. It's the things that we carry.
That the control.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That anxiety is control. In a situation where I'm getting more anxiety and then it's coming out, with my coworkers or venting to my wife or something like that. There's good reminders in there of I'm not in control for a reason because I suck at it, right?
Yeah.
God's in control. It's His plan, and. Those little reminders again, that convicting, the Holy Spirit bringing you back to center.
No, that's good. There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth in that. And learning, like the scripture says, that we cast, the KJV I think says cast our cares on the Lord. The word is actually anxieties. So it literally means to cast all of that weight, all of those heavy things onto the Lord. And learning to do that's hard. Because the opposite of trust is control. And we live in a culture that only trusts as far as they can understand. And that's not trust at all. Trust is following people or following the Lord, even when we don't understand. And being willing to trust that He's going to come through, He's going to be faithful and present, all of those things. So
Yeah. I think for me, and many people know this, I've dealt with anxiety, but I've also dealt with depression for a very long time because of a lot of things from my past. And so I've kind of had to work through those things. But it's all a mind game. What I do is I go through something, I'll shut down and I'll just, stew over all of the things that happen. And it's just a downward spiral into sad Jessica, so, and that's not how I want to live. And that's not how anybody wants to live, but it's very common for a lot of people. But it is really just all a mind game. It's all just a thought process that we just keep, marinating on, and we just keep going on throughout our head. And you have to take those thoughts captive, and you have to stop them in their tracks. And that's one thing that I've definitely dealt with, which goes very well with all of
Yeah.
this that we're talking about, because most sin, no, I say most, all sin, it starts with thoughts. It starts in the heart. It starts in the mind. But yeah, depression is definitely one of those that's very much all in the mind, And then, of course, you have mood swings and stuff because you're just ticked off. Nobody else knows why, but you're sitting here, being all sad. So yeah. But yeah, that's definitely one thing that I've struggled with for a very long time. But
Oh, that's good. Misty?
I think for me, I'm an oldest daughter. And one of the things that maybe is a strength, but also becomes probably my greatest weakness, is people depend on me, whether it would be growing up. I didn't realize it until looking back. But I get a real fear of not having the answer or not doing things correctly, and not being available in a way that it wasn't until probably the last 4 or 5 years that I realized, I can then rely so much on myself and myself being right, myself being the only place that can fix it, that I take God out of the equation in those moments. Yeah.
No, that's good. I think for me, there have been seasons, and I think I'm better about it now, but it is still a struggle, that Sabbath was not really a thing. Like learning to rest was not really a thing that I, A, grew up with, B, really valued. And part of that was just how my family's kind of wired, but also how I'm wired, which really is rooted in insecurity. Like if you talk about why do we struggle with honoring the Lord with Sabbath, it's really an insecurity that you think you're the provider. It's the same reason we don't tithe, which is a different conversation for a different day. But it's learning to trust that everything we put our hands to is with the Lord, and so learning to rest from a place of trust and contentment has been. In some seasons easier in the last several years. In some seasons it's harder, and so there'll be weeks where I miss it for a couple weeks in a row, and just says, hey, you got to chill out. It's been too much. You got to sit back in that space. And for me, I like to say I'm a recovering workaholic. I think that's a fair way to say it. But I do, part of it is too, like learning to see it as a discipline, that life and peace comes when I order my life the way God's called me to order my life. And so when I learn to sit back and rest and breathe, man, there's just reading scripture is different. Reading other things is different. Spiritual conversations are different. I get to the church about 6 o'clock every Sunday, and 6 o'clock in the morning. And in that time, when I get stuff done and I feel like everything's ready to rock and roll, and I have about 30 minutes before anybody walks in the building, and I can just kind of walk around and pray and have that time, there's a shift in me that's completely different on Sunday. And so I feel that difference in Sunday morning. Why? Because I'm ordering all of those things in the way that Christ has called me to. So any other thoughts on that?
we've got 2 minutes.
Okay, we got 2 minutes. So we'll hit this, and if we go over like 2 minutes, it's okay.
Have we got any questions in there yet or anything?
Do we have any questions?
Not yet.
Hey, y'all on the internet, y'all on that thing that Al Gore invented, we need y'all to ask some questions. Well, you've got 30 seconds to throw a question or two in there, and we'll see what happens. We'll come back to it here in just a second. But ask some questions. If you don't, the devil will get you. Okay, like we need some questions. Oh yeah. Did you hear
Hit it, Kenny.
Did you hear? Okay, we can't hear it, but everybody else can. So I do want to say before we go any further, like I do appreciate you guys hanging out, being with us on the podcast. I know you live 4 hours away.
Yeah.
So depending on whether or not there's a windstorm. So I thank you for coming out. You're actually getting ready tomorrow to go to youth camp.
Yes.
What time are y'all leaving in the morning?
7:45.
All right.
So don't be late.
Man, I'm going to youth camp, but I'm not going with y'all. I will
get a
be
comfy
there
bed.
later. So yeah, and I will only be there for 24 hours.
No share a shower. Yeah.
So nope. Did it for a decade. Loved it. Grateful for it. Not ever doing it again.
Yep.
Do we have did anybody throw anything out?
Nope. Not yet.
Nope. Okay. See how it is. I see how it is, y'all. I see how it is. But no, that'll be a good trip. We're excited about that.
excited.
I love youth camp for a lot of reasons. One of them being, if you look at the overwhelming majority of people in our tradition, which is a spirit-filled Pentecostal charismatic tradition, a large portion of people that now serve in ministry are products of youth camp. They're products of those spaces. They're products of kids camp and youth camp. I believe we're actually planning on doing kids camp next year for our kids to go with the district. But we're in talks about that. But I think one of the things that's important is there's just such an expectation when they go. And I think it's a little sad that we don't do retreats with adults in our tradition.
Absolutely.
Which may or may not be a conversation for 2027, because that is so much a part of my heart. But
I think when you think about camp and that getaway and that time away, when we talk about things like we're talking about today, it helps to facilitate being able to do that, understanding it on a deeper level, or taking a moment to reset, so that you can walk in what it is that you're called to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, that's a great vantage point.
We do have a question.
Hey, it's Serenity.
Hey.
For those of y'all who don't know, because it's been a few years since she's been here, Serenity Johnson was the children's director here for the first, was it 2 or 3 years?
Couple of years.
Was it 2 years?
3 years?
3
3 years. It was
Yeah.
about 3 years that I've been here. And so, Serenity, what's Serenity's question?
Serenity's question is, what are some recommendations when it comes to anxiety and depression in a faith-based approach?
Do you remember what Ken's book is called?
Something about anxiety and depression.
I have a really good friend. His name's Dr. Ken Squires. He pastors a church in Wichita at Bethel Life Center, and he has a book. I think it's called Rethinking Depression and Anxiety.
Yeah,
I
something
think
like
that's
that.
the name. But if you put Ken Squires, it's Squires. If you put that into Amazon, his book will pull up. It's like a blue and multiple. It's blue and some other colors.
But there's multiple things in that book, and
It's
as
great,
well as
yeah.
just normal, things that are good. Of course, keeping your thoughts captive and replacing those thoughts. I think that's a huge thing. If we go down into negative thoughts and negative anxiety, to replace them.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, making sure that you're in a community that will come around you and support you. And there's also things like journaling, and of course, counseling is always a good option too.
I will say too, specifically for Serenity, because she works in mental health.
She does.
What is great about Dr. Squires' book is he does take a psychological and scientific approach in a lot of ways and melds that together with spirituality. There's also a great book that I've heard multiple mental health counselors recommend called, and it's old, but it's called As a Man Thinketh. And so I think it's from the 80s, but it was one of the first open door books to mental health in spirituality. And I have never read that. However, friends that I have a lot of respect for, the mental health guy we had that worked at the church we were at in Florida.
Dr.
recommends it a
Finch?
ton. Yeah, Dr. Finch. And so,
It's like you talked about, like, if you skip in the Sabbath a few weeks in a row, it starts to wear on you. And I mean, one thing with the anxiety and stuff like that is reading daily. If you're not getting in the Word daily,
oh, that's good.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
spending the time with the Lord,
Yeah.
it's going to reduce some of that. It's not going to go away. I mean, it might go away. I don't know. Pray about that, but just spending the time with the Lord. It's going to reduce that a lot, and you're going to feel that presence.
That's very true. And I know you've shared with me one-on-one that's been a relief for you.
It's been huge.
And that's a big deal. Yeah, patterns in your spiritual life are a big deal. We got another one?
We got 1 minute.
Oh, okay. You just tell me 1 minute. Are we already
Yes.
at a... Oh, no, I
Before we are
bumped it
shut
to
off.
5:40.
Oh, you
We're not getting
did?
shut off.
Oh.
No, because I didn't know how much they were going to talk. And so I just want to make sure we were solid.
I was
But
being sure.
we do need to wrap that up. Tim, Misty, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you guys for joining us digitally, whether you watched it live or you hang out with us later in the week. Thank you so much. And this is the Tell Me More podcast. We'll see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. right here on YouTube and Facebook Live. We'll see you then.